All right, welcome. In this video, I want to talk about a subject called like regulating the coaching industry when it comes to health and the vagus nerve, especially. So, if you're in the world of vagus nerve coaching and you're either a client of a coach or you are a coach yourself and you want to understand the kind of the nuances of working in a vagus nerve specific space, which there are more and more people that are doing that are choosing that path. Which is a good idea, I think. Then I want to just address some of the kind of takeaways or things I've learned from kind of working in this business model for a number of years now, probably I'd say about 5 years so far. And so I've certainly learned a lot. And first thing I want to say is I think that the way that this industry can stay serious and stay competitive in the grand marketplace of different health practices that people need to do to stay healthy. I mean, we're looking at what is vagus nerve coaching. It's a sort of a form of health coaching that enables you to feel your best, to decrease anxiety, to maybe get your weight under control a little bit, and that kind of touches on some of the other adjacent industries like the weight loss industry, the coaching industry around fitness and exercise and diet and this kind of stuff. These are all in the similar domains of personalized self-improvement coaching when it comes to your physical body. Not necessarily developing skill sets like, how to be a better public speaker or how to run a better business or these kinds of areas of improvement. Where we talk about self-improvement when it comes strictly to the body, I'd say there's a couple main things. It's going to be weight loss is the big dominant force. That's where people are spending the most money these days as far as coaching, in terms of getting coaching, and that industry is pretty big. It's very competitive, but if you do it right, you can make a lot of money in that area. So there are people who are making like at I'd say on the average at the high end 90% quartile, you're looking at people who are making like $80,000 to $150,000 per month as a coach in that space, just per month, with small companies and doing really well and really helping people, getting really transformative results. I'd say in the vagus nerve space, we have to kind of classify like what is a coach in that area. I would say a coach could be classified as a vagus nerve coach. Obviously, they would have a say if they wanted to define themselves as a vagus nerve coach. But if you are in the space of like Wim Hof adjacent, if you do breath work or heart rate variability training or autonomic shift kind of training with people, with clients, similar to what I do with my clients, is you're really looking at teaching someone how to kind of control and regulate their own normally automatic bodily processes, like kind of their level of calm, their level of anxiety through breath work, through meditation, through maybe it's telling people to go take a cold shower, or maybe it's teaching them how to hum in a kind of a meditative way. There's like somatic breathing and somatic experiencing. So there's a lot of coaching being provided right now in those domains that are very specifically tailored toward autonomic health. It's a very interesting field. Autonomic health, for those who don't know, is really just the difference between your sympathetic and parasympathetic domains of your body. Your sympathetic system is a large branch of very well developed, like very hustly, bustly nerve networks that regulate everything in your body, from pain to adrenaline to running to freezing to fighting to all kinds of stuff. It controls a lot of bodily processes, and it's the oldest of the two autonomic systems. It's like, from an evolutionary perspective, you look at a single-celled organism growing into a multicellular organism. They developed a nervous system that could literally just exist to protect them from being eaten. And that's pretty much like the sympathetic nervous system. But later on, when these multicellular organisms began to collect into pods or tribes or whatever, like little schools of fish or whatever kind of animal selection you want to have, then you're looking at things like a nervous system developing self-regulation, where they can calm down amongst each other, like fish self-regulating in the presence of other safe fish, so they can calm down and sleep and collaborate and cohabitate. Whereas some some creatures out in the wild that are very like sympathetic driven, non-mammalian creatures, reptilian more than anything, they still have parasympathetic features, but not as much. And, they act like it. So a reptilian snake or lizard is going to have that like kind of always on edge fight or flight feeling to them. Whereas a cute little bunny rabbit certainly can get afraid, and it certainly has built-in evolutionary protection mechanisms. However, it can also relax and slow its heart rate down and just chill out with a bunch of other bunny rabbits. So that is, in essence, that is sort of the evolutionary development of the parasympathetic system. So that's an important area for modern humans in our tightly packed together world where everybody has to kind of get along in some way to the best of our ability. We've got to collaborate. We've got to get along. And so your parasympathetic system, your vagus nerve in particular, is a very important modern area of focus. It's a place that's worth investing in just as much as it is investing in your financial literature, your financial knowledge, etc., your heart health, your cardiac health, your digestive health, your fitness health, your brain health. These are all different domains that certainly when it comes to your health in general are really important areas to focus on. So there are a bunch of coaches that are emerging more around the parasympathetic benefits, or I guess the parasympathetic mastery. Not a big fan of the word mastery, because I don't think anybody ever can or will ever fully master their body. But I think that having skill stacking ability, where you are competent enough in your vagus nerve practices so you can self-regulate on command. It's no longer a mystery to you. You don't not know what the vagus nerve is. You understand what it is. You know how to breathe. You know how to tune into your body to understand the hidden behind the scenes practices or processes that are unfolding in your body in real time. And you can influence those to the degree that you want them to be influenced. So that's a whole really important domain. Having better self-mastery in that way is an important skill set, but obviously it's not the only thing, but it's super important. And especially given the pressure of aging and longevity and the environment, toxic social environments, that the pressures, the evolutionary pressures on people becoming more masterful at regulating themselves is more urgent than ever. You see people out in the wild who they're not very resilient to unexpected circumstances, and you see people kind of exploding in bursts of outrage, and you see that commonly on social media, on the internet. And that's really just an effect of people kind of being more reactive in their own body to the external environment. And that's obviously not optimal. Some people want more for themselves. They have a higher standard for their behavior and for how they expect themselves to behave in the presence of other people and in public. And people who have that higher standard really do look for outlets, tools, hacks, technology, insight, and coaching to be able to have mastery over a really incredibly crucial, modern, evolved neuron system that's in their body. That's what the vagus nerve is. It's a more modern development in the human body, in the mammalian system, than the sympathetic system. So it's less evolved, it's less robust. It's able to be shut down a lot easier than the sympathetic system. So you'll typically see people reverting to fight or flight, fear, attack, running, fighting behaviors before they'll resort to self-soothing, like taking a deep breath and then just tuning into their body fully. That is a response that most people aren't hardwired behaviorally to go into. So that's really where this whole vagus nerve coaching space sits, essentially, is helping other fellow human beings understand that they have this hidden network of neurons that are co-regulating their body. It's like you have two different masters in a sense, and finding ways to let them play better together is like, there's value in that. There's great value in that. And it's not only just on a physical level where you feel relaxed. It's also your digestion is affected by your vagus nerve being active. So if you have an unhealthy vagus nerve for whatever reason, then you might not be digesting food, which could lead to bacterial overgrowth because food is stagnant in your stomach. Then you develop other problems with infection. You also can develop neurodegeneration over time because of inflammation. If you have a poorly functioning vagus nerve, then what you do pretty much end up seeing just decade over decade with a bad damaged vagus nerve from all kinds of, chronic drinking or junk food or preservative junk food addiction, which is very common. You typically see damage to the vagus nerve having the outcome of high levels of inflammation. That leads to cardiac disease, heart disease, brain dysfunction, body dysfunction, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. You see a lot of these manifestations of persistent long-term inflammation in the body. After about 3 years, there's something that clicks, and you might not notice it at first. It could take 3 years for the damage to really have been done at an underlying level. So unless you're able to tune into your own body, you might be wreaking havoc on everything just because you're stressed, just because you're not paying attention. So people are realizing and recognizing the value of vagus nerve work to be done before you get really sick. Now, I think the biggest thrust right now in the vagus nerve world is really just focusing on those people who are aware of a chronic health issue and they're trying to get resolution to it right now. There's an urgent and important need for them right now. But I do believe that in the future, people who are younger will be more proactive and recognize, I don't want to go out the same way that my mom or my dad or my grandmother went out because I didn't pay attention to this stuff. The tools and the technologies are going to get so much more robust. And the future is extremely great for the field of vagus nerve stimulation. So anyway, I think this will be a first of a couple videos on the subject, but I think it's really important for us to start kind of like self-regulating, like better communicating. What are we really trying to accomplish here? Like, how are we really helping people? And so I think I'm going to do a more series on just kind of the coaching aspect of what does it mean to be a vagus nerve coach? Because if we just let that definition get lost on us, then it's open game for someone else in a competing industry like pharmaceutical industry to kind of define it for us. So I think we should be proactive right now in self-regulation and self-definition, and then we can continue to help people in the long run and not be so concerned about, other competing industries that are, really looking to get people hooked on long-term medications or whatever. So anyway, that's for another subject, but thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in part 2 on this series on regulating the vagus nerve coaching industry. All right, take care. Bye-bye.